Okay.
All right, welcome to another episode of Chaos and Recovery. Today's episode, we have Prescott with us. What's going on, Prescott?
Just getting out of work.
Yep.
Pretty psyched to just kind of share how I got to where I am at this point in my life.
Yeah.
Which seems to be a pretty nice place. It's very well, I can control it. I know that sounds like what we're not supposed to do in recovery, but I have agency over my mind today.
Yeah.
So I guess what I mean, right? You know, something that I just didn't have for so many years, you know, paralyzed at the stoplight. You know, I think you've heard some of that talk, right? You know, just like, can I turn up the radio louder? Can I call someone? Can I do anything but be in my feelings, you know? Addicted to not feeling my feelings.
Yeah.
Right? And
Just blocking out the thoughts.
yeah.
Trying to, at least.
Yeah. So I guess I'm gonna tell you where I was born.
Yeah.
I was born in Buffalo, New York.
Ooh, frigid.
Yep.
Yep.
So this feels great.
Yeah, right. Single digits is no problem for you.
I'm told we lived there for 6 months.
Okay.
At which point my parents moved back to the suburban Boston area, North Shore, like Greenwood, Groton.
Yep.
Up there, and then got divorced when I was 4. And I don't remember a lot of that time. I blocked out so much of that time. You know, your caregivers split up, and suddenly you're living with your grandparents, and you know, I think I would go on to create some coping skills to deal with that would later go out of date. But my mom kind of bounced around the North Shore, and then I would eventually we would find a little bit more of a solid home in when I was about 8. I lived in a situation. We were there for a couple of years, and then it gets a little fuzzy. I need to sit down and write this down.
Yeah.
Because what I've found in recovery was being able to talk to my mother about this and sort of get to the root of things was very helpful to explore my early childhood trauma, right? And we got to talk it out, and she often would feel pretty bad about things, and I would tell her it's okay, you know, it's fine, you did the best you could.
Were you an only child?
I'm an only child.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I've kind of blocked some of that time out. I just don't remember it so well, you know. And I think there's a reason why.
Sure.
You know.
Did you feel happy as a kid during those times? Or it's
it's like a Polaroid picture memory time in my life where it's just snapshots of this and that.
Okay.
Right.
Sure.
And when I look at pictures of myself from back then, I'm always got something I'm playing with or something I'm doing, you know, kind of like that monkey in that picture.
Yeah.
And so I think I was just processing and dealing, you know. There's some fond memories of, you know, I just have this snapshot of I'm on my back looking at stars, and my dad is telling me about stars. And that was before they got divorced. So, you know, that's a surprising memory for this brain.
Yeah.
You know, the way I chalk a lot of stuff up to brain damage these days.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure I started off by saying that I do recognize myself as an alcoholic and an addict. And, you know, I think it just all sort of started then, right?
Okay.
So we would we would go on to move around a bunch more times up in that North Shore area in a very short amount of time, and so I never really was able to make a friend base. Just never happened. As soon as I'd start to make friends, boom, we'd move away.
Yeah.
Right? And so I think it was I think it was 10 that I moved to Los Angeles to live with my dad. And I went to elementary school out there, junior high school and high school in Hollywood, California. And there was more stability there. You know, my dad had he married someone else, my stepmother, and we got along great, and it was just really nice.
Yeah.
You know, they're still in the same house. Wow. You know, they bought this house in 1974, and I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it there. It was complete mayhem. Lots of drugs. You know, I think I discovered weed in junior high. You know, I can remember like smashing hash into a prototype in French class and lighting it with a lighter that went click. It wasn't like a roller flint. It was one of those click lighters.
Yeah.
And Mrs. Tessier was like, and someone over there is like, "Oh, I dropped something," you know. Just created it. We were clever.
Yeah.
Even in junior high school.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Blowing it through our shirt.
Oh yeah.
Steve used to blow it into a backpack on the desk.
Same thing. Science class at the lab tables.
Yep.
Used to smoke a steamroller in my backpack, and then sometimes I just walk across the room and blow it out the window. But most of the time, I would just blow it right in my backpack.
Yeah.
You know, fun.
Genius.
Yeah.
I mean, what's wrong with that? I mean, that's you know, that's how you do these things.
Yeah.
You know, but
yeah, but no regard for like, is this going to get me in trouble?
No regard.
It was more about like the search for the reward of the validation from your friends.
Yeah.
You're crazy for doing that.
Yeah.
It's like I always had to one up myself. Always.
Yes. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, that began the you know, that began the drugs.
Yeah.
You know, the freedom of whatever that was. Also, I would start drinking around then too. You know, go into the liquor cabinets and, you know, pour some out, pour some water in. You know that trick, right?
Yep.
You know that we hear about so much. I've listened to so much stuff recently. I don't know where I heard it, but I just cracked up laughing at the one where, you know, yeah, you know, the water froze in the vodka.
in the bottle.
Yeah. You know, so the kid got to learn about freezing water.
Oh, that's
right?
funny.
You know?
Yeah, solid.
Yeah.
I love that stuff. Just cracks me up.
Yeah.
You know,
I distinctly remember my mom and her friends having drinks, and me and another friend were looking at it like, oh my God, this is it. We're getting busted. And they just happily drinking their martinis or whatever, like not even noticing that 70% water.
Sure.
Oh, good times.
I mean, when I think of that one thing and how many times throughout my life I did that, you know, the last time being, you know, I'm 7.3 years sober, and so let's say 8 years ago I probably did that.
Yeah.
The same thing I did when I was in junior high school, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Thinking that just works just fine. You know, and then you see all your friends are over and, you know, everybody's making drinks and you're just like, oh God. There's water in that.
Yeah.
You know, oh man. So where am I? I'm 12. I'm smoking weed in class. hanging out just with the hippies at school, the skateboarders. It's 1970, whatever it is, and it's Hollywood, California, and there's a drought, and people are skating pools, and people are in Dogtown, and, starting bands, and that you would hear about later, and all this kind of stuff, and, and I was drinking, and so I'll just skip to high school, where, kind of my day was to go to Dan's house, and we would drink Chivas Regal, and we would skate or walk to school, and then we'd be starting to pass out around 10, and we'd just be like, fuck this, dude, let's get out of here, and we'd go back and drink more.
Yep.
And this thing would continue like that. Then there was the days that maybe we didn't drink, that maybe we took acid or something like that instead, it was just, I was not doing school.
Yeah.
I was getting straight F's.
Yeah.
Starting to do, steal mopeds. And, I would get arrested for stealing a moped. And then I got arrested there was a house we walked past that had weed plants in it. We got arrested for breaking in there because they just happened to be watching the little neighborhood because people were breaking in, and we got caught in that. We got swept up in that, and then I was on probation. I didn't really care so much about that. Had to ride my bike downtown once a week, that was. I guess I could say I was a troubled teen.
Sure.
Then opiates would come into play. I got into heroin.
How'd you get introduced to that?
Let me think about that. I got a job at Elon Tile, which is a famous tile store on Melrose Avenue in West Hollywood. And the owner's name was Les Paul.
Oh, nice.
Just like the guitar.
Yep.
And celebrities would come in there to buy tile.
Yep.
People like George Harrison and just all kinds of people would come in there.
Yeah.
And there was another guy working there. And we kind of started to hang out. And then I remember he and his girlfriend needed a place to stay. And this is a guy with a job, right? And then they were into heroin.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to try that, and it's just so good.
Yeah.
It's just too good.
Yep.
So I had this job. There was at this point I had dropped out of high school, right? I think back, there were some people that are pretty well known musicians who I went to high school with, who, I was almost in the, I brought my guitar to school and we would jam and stuff like that in the quad, and I was almost getting accepted by this group of people. And I just chose to drop out and do drugs.
Yeah.
And they went on to do what they did.
Yeah.
And they are quite successful these days. And I just think I was just a few millimeters off.
Yeah.
And so I had dropped out by this point, and I was living in an apartment. I'd moved out of Dad and stepmom's house when I was 17. Apartments were there was 2 rooms about this size and a back house. That's very common in LA, to have a back house.
Sure.
Converted that you rent out. And it was $125 a month.
Yeah.
I was making way more than that, working next to a really good French wine store and getting good French wine.
Yep.
And, good drugs and good wine. I had arrived.
Yeah, right.
And then the heroin thing was becoming a little bit problematic, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
And coincidentally, there was my stepmother worked at the Neuropsychiatric Institute at UCLA.
Wow.
And so there was a good family friend who was in charge of a project in St. Kitts in the British West Indies. And they wanted to build a facility down there so that they could more easily do biological stuff with the monkeys that are on the island. But also there was a big call for like enclosure work where you have a big enclosure, it's got monkeys in it, and students come down from Harvard or whatever and they observe the groups. Or we take them in the rainforest and observe the groups up in the rainforest. And so that was sort of my clean break from LA.
Yeah.
And I just was like, oh my God, I'm detoxing on the plane. Just like, give me more. I need to drink and sleep. And I'm like, I got the flu. Just detoxing's horrible.
Yeah. Were you an everyday user before getting on that plane?
I think it was about to happen.
Yeah,
it was about to go down that way.
Sure.
I think I had it a little bit under control. I super duper enjoyed it. It was. I think it was about to go that way.
Yeah.
I guess I had a physical addiction because it hurt to stop doing it. So I get down to St. Kitts and I just swap it for just rum and weed.
Yeah, right.
And one of the things I didn't even know a whole lot about it, but they used to use ketamine to sedate the monkeys before they would sacrifice their brain out of the monkey.
Sure.
And so I'm like, I try that. And so I put the syringe in the bottle and just drew some out and was like, psh! I shot it into my mouth, and I was like, yeah, I don't even know if I noticed anything.
Yeah.
Maybe I didn't even take enough. I don't even know.
Oh, yeah.
But I thankfully, I didn't really go too much past that, that curiosity, because I don't think like addicts at that point really. I don't know if ketamine was really a thing.
Yeah, because you had to cook it a certain way to get it in the powder form. In the powder form, once you sniff it, that's what gets you through the moon.
Yeah, so I didn't know shit.
Yeah,
right?
and
I just put it in my tea.
Yeah. So they would put it most dealers I found would put the liquid on the plate in the microwave, and then cook the microwave, and then after like a minute or something, it would turn to powder. And that's a crazy ride.
Yeah, see, if I had known that,
you would have been there.
Who knows where I'd be today?
Yep.
You know,
How are you gonna be 7?
I know these things that these like addict hacks.
Yeah,
that I didn't know. And so lots of weed, lots of booze down there. I would black out. There. I think I didn't really start to black out until I was in St. Kitts.
Yeah.
Because we were working hard out in the hot weather, doing landscaping and construction, and it's the Caribbean. It's hot.
Sure.
And so I would I would just go and I would go up into the little villages up in the little canyons, and they called them guts, and they'd have these awesome just dance parties. It's just reggaeton kind of stuff, and it's just loud, and I would just like a couple of times I woke up in the sugarcane field. I didn't make it home, and that's when blacking out started. It was on St. Kitts, but I loved living down there. I was there for a year.
Wow.
I was sort of politely asked to leave because they weren't too keen on the patch of weed we were growing on the side of the mountain.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, sure. So that it was time to go.
Yeah.
So I came back to Boston.
Okay.
And
with mom?
Mom lived in Boston. Yep. Mom lived in Boston, worked for Delta Airlines, so we could fly places on the weekends and do that kind of thing. Yeah. But it was strange coming back because there wasn't all the weed. There wasn't the bars to go to. It was just like, whoa, I came back to Winthrop, Massachusetts.
Oh, yeah.
And I would get it. My first job was selling pretzels and slush in Boston Common.
Okay.
Right.
Much more cold and confined existence, right?
We had we had some signaling going on with the drug dealers there, and so I started to find my drugs, and we would have hand signals, or I think it was coughing. Like we'd cough real loud if the 5-0 was headed their way, that was, I don't know how long that lasted, but around that time too, I discovered that Mom had pills. Mom had Valium, codeine, stuff like that. Man, I would take 3 or 4 Valiums, go upstairs, and they had a piano up on the top floor, and I'd just sit there and zone out with the piano. It's amazing how like one chord until it stops ringing is just the best. So that's what's going on. There's some patterns, right? I like drugs. I don't want to feel my feelings, all that kind of stuff. Right?
Yeah.
So at any point before this, like through the blacking out, through the getting kicked out for growing weed, to moving to different places, was there any inclination that you had a problem, or was this just the life and this is how people lived?
There was none.
Right.
No inclination.
Okay.
Right? I want to be Jim Morrison.
Sure.
I want to be Keith Richards.
Yep.
Right? I want to be these people. Right? And how do I get there? Well, I had a guitar, and I was going to be a rock star. Right? I missed that chance with some of the people I went to high school with, but they weren't famous yet either.
Yeah.
So that was, I don't know how it's going to happen, but that's what I want.
Yeah.
Right. And so I would get another job that would introduce me to somebody that would become the singer in my band. And we started a band. We started a 3-piece, we could play 3 chords punk band, and I had done some of that in Los Angeles too. Punk rock was sort of like something that was attainable for us. We could play 3 chords, get a cheap guitar, get that amp over there to work, and push and shove each other around and have just a fine time.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
We don't need to sound like Fleetwood fucking Mac.
Yeah.
Right? And that was our beef.
Yep.
Because I grew up I lived in West Hollywood there, right? So you've got Laurel Canyon comes right into there, and you've got the whole Laurel Canyon 1970s thing going on with all the Crosby, Stills, and that. Everybody, and they all sound great, right?
Yeah.
And we're just like, because
the resistance.
You can't afford it, right? It's just unattainable.
Yeah.
And so anyways, we start the 3-piece punk band, right? We can play 3 chords and we can mix them around together, and we got a set of songs.
Yep.
And so we start playing out, and we're playing with all the bands in Boston are playing. We all play together, and then we learned another chord, and got a bass guy, and he knew a lot of chords, and and then would put out a couple of records and tour around and do all that kind of stuff, and it's kind of funny. It's like another one of those things. It's like the high school thing again, where it's like we're progressing, and some people are starting to recognize, and then we just stop.
Yeah.
I didn't like the direction the music was going in, and the singer was just not a great person to be with, and so we ended that effort, and it was about a 10-year effort.
Oh, yeah.
And I felt kind of burned out on the whole thing, and so I kind of disappeared. And I would say I definitely started to drink to forget.
Okay.
Because now I'm not going to be that. I'm not going to be Jim Morrison. I'm not going to be Keith Richards. whoa, shit, I'm just going to be a contractor?
Yeah.
Man. You know, so give me another drink. You know, so we started another band that was going pretty well, and we had a good hit on the radio, and then people just decided they were moving to New York and Los Angeles.
Oh, yeah.
I'm standing there with another tape for another radio station.
Yeah.
Okay, well, what do I do with this?
Right.
So that was it. That was it.
Yeah.
I stopped going to see shows. I stopped, I really started to isolate.
Okay.
I was married at this point. I got married, Carrie and I got married when we were 23.
Oh, wow. So, like, how far after you moved to Boston did you meet her?
Well, I got there around 80. It was like 83, just a couple of 3 years, 3 or 4 years. Things happened quickly in Boston.
Yep.
They did. They happened quickly. And so the manager of the band was also Carrie's roommate in college. And record release party, I met Carrie.
Okay.
And we've been together since then. And, everybody knows I've done my best to fuck that up. But yes, we are still together.
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible.
Maybe it's, 40 years almost. So,
Yeah. 42.
yeah.
Don't see it often anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Carrie would be sitting right next to her going, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, and the second band is broken up. We had, I think right around then we had Georgia, our daughter.
Okay.
Okay. When we were 29. So I'm probably off calendar wise, but my mind is, hey, it's the drugs and alcohol.
Yeah, there you go.
Fried my brain. So now it's just family time. I'm just and I'm a contractor. I'm working on houses, and then I get. Oh, I know what happened. I'm not a contractor working on houses. I'm working at a boat place. I'm managing the Boston Sailing Center.
Okay.
And it's a great place in Boston to learn how to sail. We teach adult sailing. So anyways, I worked there for 8 years, and it was during that time that our daughter was born. And then I would go on to be a sailing coach even. I was a sailing coach at Tufts University and would later be at Brown. And I started at Wellesley College.
Okay.
And I also worked at community boating on the Charles River for about 8 years also. So all of this is jumping around and fast forwarding a little bit, but it was that kind of time. I was just working. We had Georgia, and it was just family time, right?
Yeah.
Going up to New Hampshire on the weekends, just all that kind of stuff. Family.
How was your drinking at this point?
Oh, it was great. Yeah. I was drinking a lot. Yep. Doing all the stuff.
Yeah.
Doing all the shit.
Yep.
Man, all of it. I remember when ecstasy arrived. Like, we had a friend who worked at MIT, and we had a friend that had a friend that worked at MIT, and he made the ecstasy.
Oh, okay.
And it was like, he'd have the dinner party, and he'd put the stuff in the margaritas.
Yeah.
And then that was one time that I remember vividly was that one. It was the 4th of July, and I had the big band van still. And so I had bean bags in the back, and everybody got in, and I drove us to East Boston to the party we were going to.
Okay.
On ecstasy.
Yep.
After margaritas.
Sure.
I mean, what's wrong with that?
Yeah.
So,
you're hyper focused when you're rolling. So
and the best part was I'm on Storrow Drive, and I'm like, I look at Carrie, and I'm like, I'm fucking Mario Andretti.
Sure. Yeah.
In a van.
Yep.
She's like,
Yep.
what was her response?
I we're all
We're all having a good time.
Yeah, she's like, yeah.
Yeah, you are.
You are.
Great, you are.
Yeah.
That's why I married you.
Yeah, I knew this was going to happen. So,
Nice.
that was just one of many. That's how we were. That's what we were doing. We were partying.
Yeah.
And so we partied. We spent some years partying. And then I think when our daughter was born, we started to we would get away from that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that's when the drinking was beginning to become a visual problem.
Okay.
Oh, do you have to have so much? Maybe thank God for Carrie and the maternal instincts, because man, I don't know what would have happened.
Yeah.
Right? And then so I guess I'll skip ahead a bit because it's just kind of all the same.
Yeah, sure.
Just more of the same. I would go on to become a boat builder. Okay, I got into that after college, coaching college sailing. And that was another big drinking time because it was a club sport, and you could party with the team if you wanted. And the college kids know how to party.
Sure.
I didn't go to college, but
Yeah.
I feel like I did. And there was some not so great behaviors, trying to drive down to Florida for spring break or, whatever like that. And it's like, who's had the least amount to drink?
Yep.
And meanwhile, I'm the, coach who, it's like, I'm good. I can do it. And, I could do it. But then it was like somebody else is driving, hand me the Jägermeister.
Yeah.
So I could be responsible until I wasn't, and then I'm not. I'm off now. I'm done.
Sure.
So I feel like maybe I owe some parents some amends for possibly putting their children in danger.
Yeah.
But nothing ever happened. So I'm grateful for that.
Yeah.
There was definitely opportunity for, anything can happen at any time. And somehow we made it through all that stuff.
Wow.
So I'm grateful for that, because there was some genuine fun had, just kooky stuff, just fun stuff. And then when I'd say 28 years ago or so, we moved to Rhode Island from Boston. I got a boat building job and down here, and we moved down here.
Yeah.
And then I became an owner of the little boat building job place, co-owner. And it was just Friday shop day. You drank. Everybody drank, and we would go out for beers and for lunch and have beers at lunch.
Yep.
It was a drinking culture.
Yeah.
And and that we used to joke about, like, maybe one of the other guys would call in hungover, or I would, and we would just be like, I need a little more time, I'll be in.
Yeah.
And there was sort of a unconditional understanding around that a little bit, until it became a problem. It started to become a problem.
Yeah.
I have a question about this, because as I'm hearing you talk, from my perspective, of course, which is just from what I'm hearing, is you lived a pretty eclectic life and had a lot of change, and this was the time and cultures that you were surrounded with in this social environment where it's everybody's kind of in on it. These were the times you were having good times. And I know you said when the family thing shifted, that's kind of when you could start to see. And I think so many people when they're in such social setting or culture, it's acceptable and it's okay. So, what is that threshold that makes it, besides, that immediate danger, not hurting somebody while you're driving, what does that threshold kind of look like? I'm just curious, because it's like, you're a pretty great drug addict. You had a great, it seems like you maintained a career, you maintained
the
that
threshold
maintenance
between, it becoming a serious problem. And
yeah,
we're just having
what
a good
is a
time.
serious problem, right? Because yes, it could have been a problem, but it was acceptable in a way that, I guess, I don't know. Is it just environment, circumstance that really changes those? I'm kind of just workshopping it in my brain too.
Well,
I guess.
I know I study mindfulness, right? And what I can tell about myself now is, and just a general principle is, like if you fly to Paris and you go to the airport and you get out of the subway and you come up the stairs and you come out and you're like, whoa, look at this place. Like, that's full mindfulness.
Yeah.
Right? And so maybe with a daughter being born, there was some mindfulness that happened. Even with in my condition, there was like some heightened like oh, I can see a little better,
Yeah.
So maybe I could see it was a problem.
Yeah.
Waking up hungover trying to get the kid ready for school isn't.
Yeah. It worked for that lifestyle. It doesn't work for this lifestyle. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So. And
worked is loose, obviously.
I remember when I first got sober, though, I did want to. I was like, I got resentments against billboards. It's like I grew up in West Hollywood, and it's like, the billboards are like, a guy with 2 gals and bottles of booze, and that's success.
Sure.
And maybe a Corvette, right?
Yeah.
And that's success,
Right.
So how do you compete with that, right? So I got trapped in that capitalism trap.
Yeah.
Thinking that I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah.
I'm collecting stuff. I'm drinking. I'm partying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always found it was the compare thing to me. I always compared off of what other people had that I wanted. Because I was always worried about what they would think of me, because I judge you off of what you have, what you're doing, what your job is, what your title is, and how you present yourself. So I think you're doing the same to me. So, like, if I'm in a work environment, like we're contractors, and, like, we're in the painter's field, like, there's a ideology where, you go have some lunch and you have a couple beers. At least when I started getting into the union very early, everybody went and had 3 or 4 beers at lunch. Every single buddy on the job, And then after work, it was like, all right, we're going to go 2 more hours, and then we got to go home. And there would be some people that stayed on the bar stool until their wives picked them up. And, like, that was acceptable. And so I compared, and I was like, well, this is okay. I can do this at 18.
Yeah.
This is how men live.
It looked acceptable.
It did. Of course it did.
Meanwhile, I'm the old guy on the chair getting, like, my wife's, like, bugging me to come home.
Well, that's the stuff I didn't compare. That's the stuff I didn't see.
You weren't worried about that yet. Yeah.
I didn't give a shit about that.
Yeah.
It wasn't in front of my face also.
Yeah.
And by the time, like, I had gotten to the relationship and kid thing, I had already formed this habit. And so it's like I wasn't stopping for a kid or a relationship. I couldn't, because this is already my norm.
Yeah, that was the other thing. If you had said, "Oh, let's quit for 30 days," I'd be like,
"Yeah, why?"
And like Carrie would want to be doing these like 30-day cleanses and stuff, and I'd be like,
"Yeah,
I hope I don't smell too much like booze."
Yeah.
Yep.
Because I'm not doing this cleanse like that. Like,
sure.
I'm doing all the rest of it, but I've got the gallon of vodka in the garage.
Right.
I'll do my own cleanse. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Sure.
When did it get low for you? When did it become a real problem?
Yeah, you want to skip up to the low. So...
What the juicy stuff?
When did it get low? I feel like it took I think I was low for a long time.
Just progressively getting lower.
Yeah, progressively getting lower, and really pushing the family members away. Isolating, losing friendships. just living in just crazy delusion. I would try. I would have to go through fall. I was working in down in Portsmouth and Newport, and I created this delusion that I had to go home through Fall River so I wouldn't jump off the Mount Hope Bridge.
Sure.
I could have stopped the car and climbed the fence and jumped over the Fall River Bridge.
Yep.
But that's some of the insanity. I had surrendered to die, and I would think about, well, maybe how could I end it other than drinking? I want to be drunk when it happens, but I had surrendered to die. I think that was part of my bottom. There were times where I'd be walking around just with that like in your head, and just I didn't know if I was alive or dead at some points. I had trouble walking. I was guzzling vodka all day as soon as I woke up. And I remember the day. I remember the day that I went out to the garage at 5:30 in the morning, and I'm like, it's on. And maybe that was a couple of years of that, of every day, all the time.
Yeah.
My daughter, I really had a bad relationship with my daughter. And I was just simply coexisting with Carrie, right? And I think it was really hard for them. And so we were on a family trip out to California, and I was totally smelled like booze. I'd probably just chugged it before we went to the airport, and I'm starting to detox on the plane a little bit. I'm just like, I'm trying to do this, and my daughter's looking at me with just pissed off. Carrie's like just, they're just angry. And so I just sort of sat back in my seat for a second, and I just was in this comfort of being with my grandfather when I was a young child. It just sort of happened this way, and I'm just sitting there, and I had my hand on my chest and my other hand over my stomach. I was just sitting there, and I was just, if I could feel like this, I don't need to drink. It was that peaceful time from my childhood, and then it was over. And I would drink for a couple more months until at work they said, hey, we like your job here, but you've got to get fixed if you want to continue to work here. So I went out to the car. I called Carrie. I said, hey, this is what's up.
Yep.
This is what's up. And I told her pretty much what I've told you, and I got home. We called one of our favorite detox establishments in the area, and they said, call us in the morning. We might be able to get you in at 9.
Yeah.
And I called a couple of buddies, and they came over, and I said, this is it. And I just got hammered, and they obliged, and somehow I woke up, and I went out and chugged what I had, and I was like, come on, let's go.
Yeah.
And so I was brought to the place, and I got signed in, and I was just like, get this poison out of me. Wow. So it was that moment of clarity on the airplane. Yeah. Right. And then I was like, in the elevator with the person bringing me up, and I'm like, I'm your next Jack Nicholson, having known about the movie One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Sure.
For your younger folks,
so memorable, that
great
movie.
Yeah,
oh my
great movie. And I was like, you know what? This is on my bucket list.
Yeah.
This is on my bucket list. This whole experience of being in this place, in this detox unit, and they had other things going on there too.
Yeah.
And I was just like, get this stuff out of me. And so I took whatever medication they gave me. I slept a bunch, and then an AA meeting came in. Okay, and I'm just sitting there listening, and I'm just like tears coming down because people they're really getting into it, and at least I thought they were, and then it was just really fucking heavy.
Yeah.
You know, and I was like, I think I got a shot at this.
Yeah.
So I think I was just sitting in a lot of hope, a lot of shame, a lot of guilt. As I said earlier, I was addicted to not feeling my feelings, right? And now they're coming in. Right? And I've got no process to deal with them. I used to have the process of drugs to deal with them and alcohol. Now it's just me and my feelings.
Yeah.
You know, and so I was there for 5 days. Maybe it was 6. It's 5 or 6 days.
Sure.
And I was trying to sign my name out of there, and as I'm writing my name, I was just overcome with just emotion, every one of them, all at once. And I just couldn't stop crying right then and there. Big belly crying, like little kid crying, right?
Release.
And I had to go sit down, and I felt like I was going to fall over. And this went on for about 3 days. So I was able to sign my name and pick up my bag and walk out of there. But I got out to the car, and I'm just like, I can't talk right now. It was just for 3 days. I was just like bawling my eyes out. And I knew because I heard some people in AA say it, that there is life without drinking. And I had convinced myself that there wasn't.
Sure.
You know, I had surrendered to die. And I think in that moment at the detox facility, I surrendered to live. You know?
Yeah.
I think that's what happened. So then I would go to AA meetings.
When you were leaving the detox, or like the day before, like all that day, the whole day before you were about to leave the detox, did you think you were going to stay sober when you left there?
You know, I don't know. I can't remember what I was thinking so much about if I'm going to drink again or not.
Sure.
I think I had decided it was over when I called my friends.
Yeah.
And I told Carrie what step 0, right,
Yes.
happened on the plane.
This is fascinating. I love your story. I have a question. When you said I was on my bucket list, talking about the cuckoo's nest and going to can you elaborate on what you mean by that?
Yeah, sure. I think the experience that I saw a guy go into a place, into a mental institution in that movie, and it was almost like he got to be his real self.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
And nobody could really deal with that. You know, was he crazy or was he just unaccepted?
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like somebody said it at the meeting that we were at recently, of like, you know, who gets to decide what's crazy?
Yeah.
Right. Who gets to say what's normal?
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, you know, with that kind of thinking, there's so many possibilities.
Yeah.
And so I just really wanted to embrace the experience, you know?
Yeah.
That's what I was going to get at.
Yeah.
It's interesting because, you know, you hear so many different stories, and you start to, you know, people start to, and society will start to stereotype, you know, these groups of alcoholics or addicts or whatever, just humans. But listening to you and feeling your energy and hearing your experience, especially in the time and culture it's, you know, I'm just getting like artist, you know, and I know you are, but it's a different type of person, I think. And I think that maybe, you know, to hear that you were blocking out these emotions, but to me, you come across as a empathetic, emotionally intelligent person. It's spiritual. And there, when you said that, it's like, oh wow, you don't usually hear about like this openness. It's almost like, you know, when the movie and then yourself being that's on my bucket list. It's like I can relate very much as an artist. Like, yeah, let's fucking do this. Let's get to the lowest, most broke open place I could be, because that's like part of. It's not like, oh, I have the willpower to do it. I don't know. I'm trying to like place it, but it's so interesting because you see so much anger and resistance from a lot of people that had to get to that really low place and then go, you know, it sounds like in a way you took it on as this, like, it was an awakening and you're like, I'm open, I'm ready. Yeah, it's not that it was easy. It's not that this wasn't, you know, a chemical addiction and you were at the rock bottom, there's something about that personality of the artist where it's like
both and, right? It was like, wow, I get to do this and fuck, this sucks.
Yeah.
Right? Wow, I fucked it up.
Yeah.
And also like, wow, I get to do this.
Yeah,
like,
so much beauty in the surrender. Let's go.
Or also just like, you know, like, I think if you'd asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up, when I was like 12, I might have said a psychologist because of my stepmother working at the Neuropsychiatric Institute.
Yeah.
I would have to go and meet her there after work, and the psychiatrist would take me into their office and just talk to me, like, because I was just a young, innocent mind.
Yeah, right.
And I just found that super interesting.
Yeah.
You know, and so... the place I was at they had a dual diagnosis situation going on there in the detox unit.
Yeah.
So there weren't just folks detoxing. There was all kinds of stuff going on. You know, and so it was very much like if you don't feel crazy when you go in there, you're gonna when you come out, kind of thing. And when I got out of there, I was a little like, whoa, because, you know, it was easy for some of us to just sit there and use the clicker, and we're just all doped out on whatever they're giving us, and you know, but then there were some other people that were just like, I can't watch this, you know, that kind of response, and it was just like, it was very interesting to me to see like real mental illness, you know, or at least a version of it. We got so some scenes from that movie are like playing basketball. Yeah. We got to play basketball. I got to throw it to me. And we went for walks. And one day, one kid tried to run to his car, and security had to come get him. Man, it was just a great experience, you know, and I'm just super grateful that I got to experience it.
Sure.
You know, maybe I've just got a natural talent for embracing hard work like that. Now I don't think I did before, because. I don't know. I was just too maladaptive. You know, I would just meet everything with just a maladaptive response.
Sure.
You know, I couldn't read a room. You know, just stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, just totally unaware of my surroundings. So, but I think I was brought up okay with empathy in regard to empathy, right? Like I think my morals were good. I think I hate to judge morals, but you know, maybe I was better. I was a little more on the side of right than wrong, maybe something like that, right? You know, and you know, so I would get out of Butler. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, you did, and it wasn't necessarily a question.
Yeah.
It's hard because I have a hard time like directing the exact question, but it's just I just more wanted to like know. Yeah, I find it very intriguing because it seems like such a different when you see the different journeys of talking with people in here, and it's like, I'm not really one to speak on or judge these things, but from my perspective and my opinion, it's like, you know, we have these nature and nurture, the way that it affects our childhood, and then the culture and environment that we're in. It's where's that line, you know, to where we're internalizing a lot of negative shit within ourselves and our environments, and you know, these drugs and alcohol become a absolute scapegoat to the point of absolute destruction. And then you see these stories of people that like had these experiences, and drugs and alcohol, I mean, they start off feeling pretty much the same for everyone, right? And then the way we shift the use of them, and what is the reason, and when do I need to reel it back in and hone in on this? And then, you know, it's then the character defects that you already have, and then how they're manipulated by these drugs and alcohol. You really see, I think, like this crazy shift in what kind of addict or what kind of experience or story you have. Because you see, there's a lot of people that, you know, it becomes all they know, and that's that. And then you have people that maintain a life while using. It's just very interesting to see the different type of person. And I just feel an energy that's like, you know, I can relate to, as far as like, you know, I'm open and willing and ready to like live in my own movie, even though sometimes it doesn't look so great.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you know, I think I embrace that experience. Maybe I just embrace experiences.
Yeah.
And because I could say that I really embraced going through the steps, and doing that whole thing. And, you know, I think I embraced life on life's terms, right? You know, in Buddhism, we talk about dukkha, which is basically life on life's terms. And we're encouraged to embrace that. And so I think I've been able to embrace life on life's terms. Even before I got into studying any kind of Buddhist stuff, I was able to just embrace life on life's terms just from learning the Serenity Prayer.
Yeah, sure.
You know?
Right.
And the St. Francis Prayer. You know, I had a face mask on for that. Like I before the pandemic or any of that stuff, I'm somebody that would work with a respirator. I remember raising my hand and saying, I've got a paper mask made out of the St. Francis Prayer, and I breathe that in, and I'm, you know, that's an all-day practice.
Right.
Right, you know? So I would go on to get fired by the company that said, get your shit together, or you can't work here. 5 months sober, I got fired. I was a target because I was on the safety steering committee of like a 500-person 3-shift factory. And the safety steering committee is somebody that might point out the fact that, you know what, Steve, perhaps you shouldn't be smoking a cigarette right next to the propane locker. And, you know, little did I know that Steve's been working here for 48 years, and I'm not going to tell him what to do. And, you know, he just found out that I was alcoholic, and I went to detox, and, well, maybe Steve's going to go tell somebody else that he saw me drinking.
Yeah.
You know, and so I had a target on my back, and I kind of think that's what happened, although nobody would tell me. They just said, nope, no debate. We got to let you go.
Yeah. Nothing
to talk about here. It was truly like, what?
5 months sober, that must have been extremely disheartening.
I remember being in the HR office like, I got nothing. You know, I loved my job there. It was a laboratory job. It was all the composite stuff that I used in boat building, but we're in the laboratory side of it, testing it all. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
I really liked it.
Cool.
So it was like I was there for a little more than 4.5 years, something like that. And for me, it was a college course.
Right.
You know, I learned a ton working there. And so then, I had to get some work.
Right.
5 months sober, like, oh shit, what about this? What about this promise I keep hearing about?
Yeah.
You know, I'm ready for my cash and prizes.
Were you
here.
going to a lot of meetings?
I was crushing meetings.
Yeah.
Just my job was to go to work, go to meetings, and go to bed.
Yeah.
You know, so I would my job started early before I got fired, but once I got fired, I was like, oh, thank God, I can go to Breakfast with Bill, my favorite meeting, every morning.
Yeah.
Right?
Let me ask you a question before we keep going. How did your wife take early sobriety with you going to as many meetings as you did?
Well, she was good with it.
She was okay
She
with
had some history in her life. Her stepdad would later go on to pass away from
Okay.
this disease, and she had gone to Al-Anon and done all that as a young person.
Okay.
And,
Yeah.
so she kind of understood it, and she was like, "Go do what you gotta do,"
Awesome.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was at a lot of night meetings, and then once I was on my own as a contractor, I was like, I'm gonna go to the morning meeting every morning.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
You know, so it is actually the silver lining is always there.
Yeah.
You know, and so as upset as I was in the HR department, I started to learn that the silver lining is always there, and also some faith started to develop for me, because I'm somebody that would be like, that was very distressful for me. What am I going to do for work? How am I going to get money?
Yeah.
And I would say only in the last like 3 or 4 years has that really mellowed out to where I don't even worry or think about it at all anymore. And, you know, I'd be paralyzed at the stoplight, like I said earlier, right? You know, and trying to distract myself in sobriety, trying to distract myself with noise or, you know, anything.
Yep.
Just, I'm still addicted to not feeling my feelings.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Sure.
so yeah, Carrie was very much into me going to meetings.
Yeah.
I had to find my meetings. It turns out, growing up in a city, I like a big inner city meeting.
Yeah, okay.
You know, I like chaos in my recovery.
Yeah.
Turns out, you know, and you know, so I would work. I think I mentioned to you I did some painting for some people. We got hooked up with a realtor in the AA circles here. I got all this work from being in an AA.
Yeah.
It's like a union hall,
Yep.
right? You know, and you know, and I that's why I wanted to start this thing called a brushstroke to recovery.
Yeah, you told me
Right.
that. Yeah, right.
You know, and just get all my AA mates, and we're just gonna go paint
That's
and
awesome.
recover. You know, and maybe get a grant.
Yeah.
I knew nothing about any of that, but it sounded good.
Yeah.
And I recovered one brush stroke at a time.
Sure.
Sometimes I was painting, right? And so I don't know. I thought it was a cool idea. Maybe it still is, but
Definitely still is.
so we
You
would.
got to get that space, man. You're putting on the event as soon as we get it.
So it was like you know, I was embracing my recovery. You know, really got into working on myself through the steps. You know, and it was around step 3. You know, where I pulled a fake it till you make it at step 3. I'm not a religious person. Didn't grow up with religion.
Yeah.
If anything, maybe there was a resentment from my dad. And my dad grew up in Worcester, Mass, and under not some of the best religious conditions. And so he wasn't always so psyched about religion until later in life. I think he found it again. But so I wasn't so like, it was a lot to read that, and then it was funny. I kind of quickly got over like my disdain for the God talk, and I was just like, whatever. Who am I to say?
Sure.
Right. So I sort of surrendered to that whole thing. However, I sometimes I still raise my hand and say, thank God I don't have to believe in God
Yep.
to cultivate an inner resource that keeps me away from a drink.
Sure.
You know, so I have a higher power that I don't choose to call God.
Yeah.
And but it just, I don't even know, right? I would say my higher power might be awareness. You know,
Yeah.
it's like if I say in the St. Francis prayer, it's like awareness, grant me the serenity, right? To have all the wisdom and all that stuff. Like, what am I aware of, right? That's what I just have to keep asking myself all the time. What am I aware of? What am I aware of? What am I aware of? And so I would go through step 4 and 5 and maybe 6 and 7 around that time. A friend was like, "Oh, hey, I'm on this podcast," and I was like, "Oh, wow, I'll check it out." And it was a Buddhist recovery podcast. And I listened to it, and it just sounded so familiar. It just landed on me, just familiar.
Yeah.
Like, wow, I think I know this already, you know, kind of a feeling. And so I just dove headfirst into studying the Dharma and Buddhist principles, and it's become like a secular practice for me.
Sure.
Not trying to do a religious thing with it, and you know, it's just cognitive science, really, is what it is, and it's available for everyone, and it's not that hard, you know. And you know, I remember showing up and at my home group to the Saturday meditation meeting, and I'm 50. I got sober when I was 56, and I'm a 56-year-old person sitting in a chair, fold-up chair in a church basement, and I'm asked to sit still and meditate for 5 minutes, and I can't do it. You'd think at 56 years old I could sit with myself for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I'd be like,
Yeah.
when are they ringing the bell? When are they ringing the bell? You know, and so then I would get into this meditation class, and I noticed after a couple of months, I noticed like I wasn't reacting to stuff. You know, I was you know, being able to see the pause that we talk about in the 11th step.
Sure.
You know, I was able to see that gap between what you say and how I respond. There's that power of choice.
Yeah.
Right? You know, and that's something that really stood out to me right away was, oh, wow. Now that I've been sitting with myself for 20, 30 minutes at a time and building up resistance against everything that wants to take me out and, you know, do anything but feel my feelings, wow, I can pause. I'm doing it right now.
Yeah.
I can pause. And it just feels so, it feels like that time on the plane where I'm like this, and it's like my grandfather, I'm in the safety of my grandfather, and all is well. And that's so attainable at any moment.
Sure.
Because I sit and I train, you know. And had I not gone through the steps, I may not have achieved that ability to sit like that.
Yeah.
Because I was on a retreat this summer, a 7-day silent retreat, and somebody came up to me after, and we were just chit chatting, and he's like, "Yeah, I just can't stop thinking about all the stupid shit I did," you know, and I'm like, you know,
Yeah.
that hell yeah for AA, because we get to process all this stuff,
Right.
so that we can do something like go learn how to meditate.
Sure.
You know, and so the Dharma and AA work just so well together. They just fit.
great.
They just fit together very well, and that's been a big thing for me.
Yeah.
That's, you know, I love AA, and it definitely saved my life, and I love going to AA. I just got a new sponsee, so I'm excited about that, and you know, that's so helpful for me. I go through the steps with them.
Yeah, right.
You know, we just do it as we get to them in the book, and it's you know, it allows me to go through them again too.
Yeah.
You know, my sponsor lives in Florida, and I should probably, you know, have a secondary. I kind of do. There's guys I have gone and done step 5 stuff with locally, but he moved away. He moved away a couple of years ago. So I've got some. It's a committee. You know, it's a committee.
Yeah.
And you know, so where was I? Do you have another question?
I do.
Okay,
Go for it.
So where is your relationship like with your wife and your daughter today?
It's very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just went on a trip to New York together
Right.
for a week. We stayed in our friend Paul's apartment. It's this size, and then another room this size.
Yeah.
And you know, we got snowed in.
Ah, cool. Fun.
We had a nice time.
Yeah.
We watched movies. We can have a somewhat intimate conversation. And same with my daughter. It's like we're close. My daughter lives in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And we saw them a bunch when we were there. And you know, it's repaired.
Yeah.
Right. There's still some work to do.
Sure.
You know, just a year ago, my daughter and I went for a walk in Los Angeles, and was, you know, she laid into me.
Yeah.
I was like,
Love
wow, this is what I've been training for.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
and I just let it happen.
Sure.
And it was really good for her.
Yeah.
You know. And I guess I embraced it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, because how many times am I in your lifetime is that going to happen?
Well, I love
Yeah.
that you said you trained for it, because like I feel that. You know, like I can have conversations today with people that I have hurt dearly in the past and listen to them tell me what they had to go through. Yeah. Tell me what their feelings were involved. Tell me what I did and how they saw me at certain points. And I can have a totally different perception. And instead of being that defensive person that I've been my entire life, I can sit there and understand what they're saying.
Yeah.
And remember that it's not about what I have to say. It's just about what they have perceived and the damage I have caused. And I have to be okay with that. And like, I didn't learn that. I mean, I didn't learn that on my own. You know, somebody had to teach me that. Teach me that I can't be defensive anymore. Because the more I'm defensive, the worse the situation gets. And there's no healing in defensiveness. And I love that you said train for that, because I've been at this so long, in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out, and every time I've learned a lot. But like, it's taken me a long time to just be able to actually listen to somebody.
Comes with the awareness, you know?
It does.
That's it. It's like, it's almost like you can't really, my perspective is you can't look back once you have the awareness. I definitely find myself slipping, and then I'm like, oh, that's right. This is exciting. Like, I get to learn now. I get to grow, you know? When you have the knowing that if you allow the awareness and the hard shit and the hard conversations, then it's just like, it's a no-brainer. It's like, oh, this is gonna heal. It's gonna heal the world this much more. It's gonna heal my world this much more. And that resistance is just that breaking that natural habit of defense. And yeah, I think we all we had all these little things when we needed them.
Yeah.
And then your narrative continued on for a little too long, you know. But you needed it for a purpose at one point.
Sure.
And then you didn't really need it again, you know. But we really hold on to those traits.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's exciting, right? To like have a hard conversation, even if it's hard, you know that there's the repair is.
Well, listen, if I'm being defensive with somebody or about to be, I don't listen to a fucking word you had to say.
Right. Yeah.
Heard that. Yeah.
Not a single thing. I heard one.
I like how he
thing.
said about to be. You've already been in them.
Yeah.
I heard one thing at the beginning of your conversation.
Yeah.
And for the next 3 minutes of you talking,
You're somewhere
all I've been
else.
thinking about is how I'm going to attack you once you shut the fuck up.
Yeah. Well, I learned that. I was at a therapist. I was with a therapist, and they said, I'm not going to be able to help you if you are in your defenses.
Yeah.
And I was like,
I'm not defensive.
oh.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Sure.
And I was like, okay, all right,
Yeah.
okay, I need to work on that.
Yeah.
Aha.
And so like something that I've always been encouraged to do in my meditation is to bring that shit in, right?
yeah.
So
Yeah.
like open awareness meditation is like flashlight meditation is like we focus on the breath, right? Just gonna focus on the breath, and every time I'm off in la la land, can I come back with kindness and just get back to the breath, right? And
Yeah.
just keep doing that, right? And open awareness meditation is I can do the breath, but I want to hear, I want to see, I want to smell, I want to taste, I want all the senses to take in everything all at once.
Yeah.
And I've been doing that for about more than 3 years at this point. At my favorite AA meeting in the morning, I sit there for the opening statements. I do open awareness meditation every time I'm there, and
I can validate that.
it's like so what it does is it kind of shuts off the inner chatter, because you're if you're not smelling, you're trying to hear.
Yeah.
Maybe you're tasting, and then you're trying to smelling, taste, feeling your body, and then if you're kind of way out there, all right, let me just get back to the breath for a second, and then you're just trying to see how big your mind is,
Yeah.
right? And then you can start bringing in, oh, there's that thing.
Yeah.
Like I did this practice, like my mother had dementia. Okay, she passed away 2 years ago. Okay, and for 2 years, I would just sit with mom dying, and so it's like pre-grieving, right? And so when they called me at 2 a.m. and said she had passed away from COVID, because I couldn't be there, there was COVID running through the place, that I was okay.
Yeah.
All right. This is what I've trained for. If I heard you correctly, my mother has passed away, and you need me to come there and get everything out in the morning.
Yeah.
Yep, okay. I was able to go back to sleep.
Right.
That surprised me,
Yeah.
that I was able to fall back asleep. That surprised me.
Yeah.
And it's not because I didn't love my mother or didn't care. It was just I had done that work.
Yeah.
And so I busted out some hypervigilance in the morning. I walked down to our local U-Haul place, and I drove up and I got the job done and moved all the stuff up and dropped it off and did all the stuff I needed to do.
Sure.
I was just, I guess the old habit of waiting for the other shoe to drop I was like, when am I going to get really upset?
Yeah.
I had already gotten really upset. In my meditations, I would sit there, tears coming down the whole time. I'd already done that work. So that was pretty amazing to me. And I did the same thing with my dad. My dad had a stroke this past summer. I got permission. I was going to a retreat, but I had already sat with him a bunch before, and I had to sit with him having this fresh stroke. And a month and a half later, he would die. I went to the funeral. I actually read the St. Francis prayer at the funeral because his name was Francis. And, I don't know that I would have been able to do all this stuff had I not sat with it and just sort of waited for it to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was close with my parents, I miss them dearly, but it's inevitable.
Yes.
And something in Buddhism that we talk about is impermanence, and there's age, sickness, and death, and that's if I can accept that and embrace that, I can get up there and read the St. Francis prayer at my dad's funeral.
Yeah.
Yeah, it turns out AA is good training for talking through your emotions.
Sure,
because
absolutely.
I was crying, but I read the thing.
Yeah.
And I made it through that. And there were some other folks that couldn't get up there, and they were just they were grief is tough,
Yeah.
It's so different for everyone. But I guess I would say that we can prepare for it.
Yeah.
I know that it worked for me, and I've heard it work for others. And so that's why I say we bring this shit into our meditation. And there's kind of a little bit of a maybe a misunderstanding that we're meditating to not have thoughts, and it's quite the opposite. It's a contemplative practice. We're trying to contemplate and come to terms with stuff over and over and over again, so that when I'm at the stoplight and it does come up, like, oh yeah, I've already done the work on this. And
Yeah.
it's a bummer,
Wisdom,
but it's okay,
Yeah.
whatever it is, the anxiety of something I did to somebody when I was drunk or whatever it is, right? All the stuff I did on my step 5 list. I can go over it with my sponsor and tell it to another human and do all that stuff and go burn the list and all that, but it's still going to come back up, right?
Sure.
And especially when you go to meditate,
Yeah.
But I think it's really valuable work because I do have that power of choice. When somebody says something, I can pause and listen and, maybe come up with a response that's helpful,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Prescott, thank you for coming by today.
That was awesome.
For me, I've been coming in and out of AA for the last 15, 16 years. And I've been coming around to the morning meeting, Breakfast with Bill, for the last 2 years, very heavily the last year. And there's always, the same faces. There's the same 20 to 30 faces. And you have been one of those faces for me. And it's just, I needed these bodies to be there. I didn't know who they were, what they were about. But I needed to sit there and listen and see them there all the time, because it gave me hope. It also gave me a want and a need to go back, because I enjoyed them seeing me come in. And I enjoyed the validation of other people noticing me. And I've always wanted that my entire life, just people to notice me. And it's why I loved drinking and doing drugs, because that's how I was validated. I was known as the person that would get fucked up and do something crazy, but that was my title. People noticed me now. And so I kept doing that. And so I transfer that over into my recovery. I enjoy when I see people and they see me and we can have a quick handshake or something. And it's I'll go there and I know I'm going to see those people. And I need that.
Community, connection.
That community, that connection, that accountability, all that stuff, So, thank you for being one of those people for me. I needed that when I didn't know I did,
Well, that means a lot. Thanks. Yeah. Conscious contact and connection is that's how we're really looking for, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You just want to be part of something. And,
Sure. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming in and sharing.
Yeah, it's been a
experience.
pleasure. Yeah, thank you for sharing your story.
Thanks.
Glad you made it out the other side.
Yeah.
Even better one.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Cool.
Cool.
All right. Thanks, guys.